When I was 9 years old, we lived in an enormous house. Of course, it didn't belong to us. It belonged to a very wealthy relative in the region of Mathura. It was a big house with rolling lawns, a private forest, hedgerows filled with butterflies and songbirds in the air. It was the right sort of place for a little boy to grow up. A lot of place to run, trees to climb, fruits to pluck. But unfortunately, that little boy, it was me, belonged to a very poor family. And we had no home, and we were staying in this house with relatives. And, well, every day was a treat for me. Every day was a joy. I conquered so many trees, some of the tallest trees, tall, old trees, mango trees, mast trees. But there was one tree, the youngest tree of all. It was a rain tree. It had a small dome of leaves, almost like an umbrella. And I felt safest in the shade of that tree. Below the tree, a little distance away from the trunk, was a sundial. Of course, the sundial must have been there long before the tree. It was a stone sundial, a very beautiful sundial. And I used to sit down on the sundial and look up at the tree and imagine the tree was my home. And I felt safe in the shade of that tree. Well, for me, as I just told you, it was my home. It was a place where I belonged. And belonging for me was very important, you know. It was very important. I had to belong somewhere. Now you'd want to know, why would I be wanting to belong? Considering I came from a poor family and we had no home of our own and we were staying in someone else's home. So what belonging am I talking about? A house of my own? No. A city of my own? No. A cultural tradition of my own. Somewhere where I belonged. I have 4 grandparents, of course all of them have passed on now, 4 grandparents. Each one belonged to a different nationality. There was Spanish, there was Irish, there was English, and there was Indian. Spanish, Irish, English, and Indian. So where did I belong? Who was I? What was I? So for me, I was the child of my little rain tree. And I spent a few years there, and before my eyes, the rain tree grew even more bigger. And I grew a little taller and more confident. And I spent some of my happiest hours in the shade of the rain tree. And our family moved on from Mathura. And we came to other cities and we moved from city to city. And everywhere I missed the place where I belonged. I missed that sense of belonging. I missed that sense of being protected. I missed my rain tree. When I was 11, a little older, I started writing poetry. Then I wrote short stories. Then I wrote plays. Then I started drawing and painting. But I still belonged nowhere. Nowhere at all. Who was going to guide me in what my new sense of self was? Through my poetry, through my art, through my theater. Who was going to be there? That's when my mentors, my guides came into my life. They came in the form of teachers. They came in the form of a local shop where the manager of the shop, his name was Mr. Tibbs. Mr. Tibbs was my guide. He knew nothing about poetry, and he would look at my poems and say, "Oh, your handwriting is very beautiful, but you have spelt angel wrong." Well, but he was still my guide. And there were other guides, other mentors. For me, as a boy growing up into a young lad, mentors were very important. Over the years, I started teaching, and I started mentoring young people. As a teacher, talented young writers in my class, artists, theater persons, all of them I began mentoring. And one at a time, they brought to me their love, their respect. They shared their work with me, and I grew. I grew into a mentor and a guide, and I worked in all sorts of places with children. I worked with street children, I worked with refugee children, I worked in border areas of the country, I worked in war zones, terrorist zones, everywhere. I went out and I worked with children and became their mentor. Because when I was very young, I didn't have mentors. I had my rain tree. And later on, I had shopkeepers, retired railway officials, and all sorts of people who knew nothing about art and writing. They were my mentors. Now, I was in a position to be a mentor. So I mentored children in regular schools, I mentored special needs children, and I found my true vocation, the true meaning of my life, and I realized that even though I was not, in no way was I any particular nationality, though I am Indian technically, didn't belong anywhere, I was of no nationality psychologically, but I now belonged. I belonged to the life of an artist, to the life of a writer, to the life of a teacher. I found my own sense of belonging, and I realized that children and young people need to have their own sense of belonging, their own feeling that they belong to a space where they were safe, where they were happy, where they were nurtured, where they found themselves and found their own voice. Just like I had found my voice. Over time, I had the good fortune of meeting another person. And this person didn't come from the background I came from. She came from a professional corporate background. Of course, with some amount of experience working with youth and young people through the Aga Khan Foundation. And, well, her name is Nadia Sen Sharma, and both of us teamed up. Both of us teamed up because we felt the same need. The need to provide children and young people a space of belonging, a safe space, a space where they could become who they truly are. That space, that very special space, that was themselves, their identity, their personality, which they would grow on, which the world would see one day, hopefully. We began through mentorships of young people, regular mentorships in our mentorship studio. And then we decided, let's come together to form an initiative. This initiative became Creative Self-Expression Enterprise, the CSE. And it was almost miraculous because before my very eyes, this person who belonged to a tradition, the corporate tradition, was blooming into a mentor, a guide, and an inspirer of young people, a teacher, and so much more. In fact, when I met Nadia first, it was as a colleague in a newly founded cultural center in the city of Pune. Her cultural management skills was astounding. Together, along with a dedicated team, she created over 500 events, projects, workshops, literature and arts festivals over 5.5 years. And she brought to CSE, this newly formed initiative, all that experience, her corporate experience, her youth experience, and her cultural experience. Today, this remarkable leader plays different roles, working hands-on to deliver creative enrichment programs for children, young adults, and adults. Operationally, leading CSE Center for Children with Special Needs, working with children at the center, and playing a pivotal role in creating awareness about the powerful role that arts play in shaping the lives of children and young people. Let me tell you a little bit about CSE. We provide children and young people the unique opportunity to be mentored so that they can be in a safe, inspiring space, what I told you a while ago, find their true selves through creative self-expression. We've had the unique opportunity to help writers, poets, artists, and performers from 6 to 15 to powerfully and articulately assert their own identities. Both of us are humbled by the dazzling display of their talent and the ever-growing spirit of inclusiveness, humanity, and generosity. Yes, we have grown together. And today, CSE has a Center for Children with Special Needs that reaches out to schools with its unique creative self-expression program, runs a mentorship studio, and platforms a host of activities in the expressive arts, giving children and young people the opportunity to showcase their artistic offerings. And now, we bring you an enriching online life journey, not workshops and one-off events and activities, but a life journey which gathers all our experience, creativity, and skill and offers them to 6 to 15-year-olds, taking them through an exciting and life life-changing process of self-discovery and creative self-expression so that they become more alive and empowered as better communicators, creative thinkers, and confident individuals. Yes, it's been a long journey since I was 9 years old, protected by the loving shade of my rain tree in a house I did not own. It's been a long journey from childhood insecurities and searching for a dream. And today, after 61 years of journeying, writing, painting, performing, and working with children and young people side by side with Nadia, we have reached our goal. The new initiative, which carries our joint dreams, has now been born. And the wish of my little heart, 9-year-old heart, has been finally fulfilled. I belong, we belong to the timeless moments of artistic expression. So come and be a part of us. Come under our rain tree and be one with us. Come and be mentored. Come, be guided. Come with us on this journey, this beautiful journey, life journey of thinking, of expression, of performance, and of our true creative selves. We're waiting for you. Come along in the shade of our rain tree.